Yo, 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 it's Monday. It's Monday. How are you? I hope everybody is feeling good. Let's get that energy going. It's Monday. And just depending on where you are in the country this weekend, you might be a little woozy, just a little woozy. Here in New York, we took a standing 8 count, but we still standing.
Hold on. Speaking of that, did you see the dude in Brooklyn?
Which dude?
This guy,
yeah.
they keep playing it. He was on the news, and he outside, the blizzard coming down. This dude ain't got a care in the world. He just so the lady's like telling him how treacherous it is. This guy right here, sir, you okay? He was like, yo, it's all good. It's New York. You know what I'm saying? She's like, you had no gloves on. Don't worry about that. You got a cup of coffee. Where you going? I was gonna go down to the job, but they look like they might not open up, be closed today. But you know what? I'm chilling. I'm good. It's New York.
That was a perfect example of staying motivated, making the best of your circumstances. I think for some of us, especially like I said, those of us who were here in New York, if you didn't have your significant other, you weren't with your husband or wife or whatever, obviously, then it was just hunker down, snacks, and TV and/or movies. That was it. There wasn't nothing else to do.
You say his name is Daryl or Darnell?
Oh, Darnell.
So I mean, it's like if you're a New Yorker, bro, I like the snow. You know what I mean? I understand both sides of it. I understand the people that hate they got to dig it out and they got to do the driveway or this or that, put the salt down and all that, and they just don't like the work. But I like the snow. Like, it's very rare that I'm fucking doing something, I just shut it down if I can.
Yeah.
Get that little hot chocolate.
Chill it.
Get a little something warm. Tube is on, like I said, Janet Jackson. I'm on part 3 already.
So between that, so you had the Janet situation this weekend. Like I said, depending on what floats your boat. Obviously, there's several shows. Talent has brought up a few shows. Ozark hit Netflix. I'm a big Ozark fan, so I was tuned into Ozark like I ain't had nothing else better to do.
How far you made it?
I'm on episode 7. I'm on episode 7. I didn't close out yet. I'm on episode 7, but I'm with you. I wish they kill us.
You ready to kill? I want to kill a boy. Like feel. I've been going back and forth with my Lord Savior Jesus Christ over this because it sounds so reckless and so out of control to say I want this kid to be killed, but this guy is like driving me nuts. And you know what's funny? It's an old running black joke in the black community. How we used to always make fun of how our white counterparts dealt with their children when they get out of control and everything. So, that's the epitome of that. Like when I see this kid, how his mouth be reckless and the shit he doing, I'm like, yo, this is what we talking about. Like a black kid is not doing this. This dude's out of control. So halfway through, I'm like, you know what? I hate to say it, but I want them to kill the son. All the killing that they're on the show. Get this dude.
And here's what's even worse. And I know I'm wrong for this. The lady with the phone, she get on my damn nerves too. I'm like, first of all, she reckless as hell.
You know what? I'm not even gonna say nothing.
Because we don't want to give it away. So if you haven't watched Ozark, first of all,
she's reckless too. Yeah.
It is incredible. It is an incredibly well-written show. Not to mention it's dope because in all fairness, one of the things that I love about it, and to me it ties into Motivational Monday, is it is interesting when you see how when your back is up against the wall, decisions and things that people may have to come up with in ways you may have to finagle something in order to get the results that you're looking for, regardless to what else is going on. I coming into today, like I said, that was, predominantly my weekend, obviously with football being, part two. Um, and then, like I said, the fact that the weather was crazy. So I reached out to quite a few people just checking in on folks. Hey, you all right? How's everybody doing? Whatever. Only one downer. And I'm sure you heard about this after you got back, probably this morning or something. The former Miss USA and that incident, which was, really, really tough for everybody. I, you and I, it specifically talk about this all the time on this show, and we utilize it as a motivating thing. This is really why I say, please, y'all, check on your people. I know we have a tendency to believe talent strong, Amir strong, Marlene strong, Monique is strong, Alfred is strong, and some of our other listeners who are on these platforms with us all the time, and they are. So I don't want anybody to think that they're not. But it doesn't mean that a phone call and/or text message to say, "Hey, you really okay over there? Is everything good?" is not an extra level of trying to help this person possibly maintain. We're in a time frame and in an era, and especially when y'all look at it now, because we're going into year 3, where anxiety, depression, and a lot of things have come to a head, because it's one thing to go through a year or something. You're kind of like, all right, we went through a year of it, whatever, we get out of it, we okay. 2 years, all right, now this is a little, it's a little hanky here, I'm a little worried. But when you start getting to year 3, it's almost overdrive and overkill. And for a number of us who may or may not have things that we do in order to alleviate pressure and or to de-stress. And like I said, I try my best to, give different things that people could do, everything from turning off your social media platforms and or the news from time to time. I don't say shut it off forever, but sometimes you got to detox from that too, just like you have to do from alcohol, just like you may have to do from cigarettes, just like you may have to do from food. You have to detox from information.
Right.
It can be information overload. And once you get to that point, you're now on autopilot. So your reactions, your emotions, and everything are really triggered by a lot of the information that's coming in the various ways. And that may or may not be good for some of us, because at this stage of the game, you still are replaying moments and things from the previous 2 years. So you get to year 3, you couple that with what you've been replaying in a lot of cases. And again, that's where anxiety and depression comes into play. And I want everybody to really think about that and understand what impact that can not only have on your psyche, but being depressed and or having anxiety also plays a major role on your health, because it lowers your immune system and things of that nature. That's a fact. That's not something that I'm just making up just to, talk on a Monday. You can look these things up for yourself. So this is why I always encourage everybody. If music is something that makes you happy, listen to as much music as you possibly can. If sunsets and, things of that magnitude, Google sunsets, Google sunrises, Google beaches, whatever is your thing, and look at as much as, because if you notice, there's a energy and actually a chemical reaction that happens within your body, because you can tell when you're happy, when you're feeling good. You got a different bounce in your step. You got a different way in how you react, not only, with your friends and family, but to, the world. And people can see and feel it. And that's the most important thing, keeping that energy up as high as you possibly can, because then it fights off a lot of the things that we find ourselves fighting against.
Right.
So I please encourage you to do so.
I mean, that's a great additive and point to make, that we need to be out there. So, other than checking on people, it's the reason we do the show on Monday is because collectively, even if you took a survey, most Americans believe that Monday is the hardest day of the week. And anybody that's worked in a regular formal structure, meaning you go to a workplace and do 8 hours and clock in, or, show up salary or whatever. But that format leaves the majority of us to feel like Monday is the hardest day to push through, because we let go over the weekend and kind of, you know what I mean? Let ourselves go have a few drinks, got less sleep, whatever. So by the time we get to Monday, it's dreaded and dragful. Like, Like, all right, let me get up on Monday. Everybody's the same. That's why there's a such thing as hump day. Like people deem that third day to be like, oh, the worst is I made it. I'm halfway through. The shit's behind me. And if you're part of like a party people, if you're somebody that socially go out, Thursday is your Friday. Like Thursday, you start to actually let your guard down Thursday. Like, because now you're looking at it. It's funny how we do that with our mind. We can look at it's the same 7 days, but we can look at it like, oh, tomorrow Friday, so you party Thursday because I don't need that much energy Friday. Shit, I might leave early. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I always tell people, you literally are in the mental workspace on Tuesday and Wednesday only.
Basically.
Monday, you're recovering. Tuesday and Wednesday, you're actually putting in that work. And then here come Thursday, where you're like, okay, weekend, baby, tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, your mindset flips to another direction. So we got to be mindful of changing what Monday means to us. I do that. I don't do like most people who have Monday's a hard work day. No, for me, I try to either make Monday my travel day home from wherever the hell I'm at that weekend. I try to make Monday like a real progressive day. Hence why we do this show. You know what I mean? Yes. Because I don't want to get trapped into that mental depression that a lot of people are about a Monday. You know what I mean? Stress for no reason, just because it's Monday. That's scary to me.
It is.
That's scary to me.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah. So my thing is, what we do here is try to flip the Monday. Now, we got a couple of guests that's going to come on the show today, and I had the privilege of having them with me working this weekend. You know my man Sean Harvey, one of my favorites, and this young lady Ray Diva out of the Baltimore, Maryland area. Now let me paint the picture, bro. The weekend was like the energy of the people. These people was either just tired of the virus, the pandemic, just needed to get out. I mean, I've never seen people cherish it. It's great to see it. I always said this shit when comedy first opened back up from the shutdown. I said, yo, it's this weird resurgence feeling that because you took something away from people, yes, and now they can slowly get it back. And now people have, how you say, be careful. You never miss your water till your well run dry, or you get complacent, or I could go see it anytime. And then it's taken from you. So that energy was in the resort. Shout out to Black and Gold, first of all, because they sold out the whole resort. They sold out the main building itself, but then they got all the villa buildings around it and stuff like that. So they got all that full. And it's about 700 people all together. So they're coming and going. And we get there, we set up shop, with the merch and everything. And merch is going lovely. Thank you for anybody who, purchased anything was on the trip. Thank you so much. So we got rid of a lot of hoodies, a lot of t-shirts, a lot of hats and stuff. But the energy, it stuck with me like the whole weekend. So I'm going around bouncing event to event. You got different spaces and rooms and all that to do whatever, because they always need help. They always could take, especially what I do, a host grabbing the mic and keeping the corralling the people. So, you know what I mean? So I'm doing that. So I come down, set up Saturday. Now the comedy show ain't until Sunday. I come down Saturday, set up shop, middle of the day. An hour into that, I got to go to the thing because we do this thing called Afternoon Madness. It's a big entertainment thing, like a scavenger hunt. Go in there, host that. That takes up a few hours. I come back to the merch table with my man Rick and Aldo trying to, sell and move the stuff. And then it's time for the next event because Nice and Smooth's coming to perform. And then there's a pool party over here. And then Friday and Saturday night, bro, at 1 o'clock, I'm setting my DJ equipment up. I'm doing the bump and grind. And then Sunday, you fast forward the last day, Sunday, come back down 12, 1 o'clock, situate stuff because now we the first ones in the room because we got to change where we are. And I skipped over Saturday night hosting the R&B concert with Montel Jordan and Jeff Red. So you just popping around like it's nonstop rotational wheel of work. But their energy kept me going. You know what I mean? Their energy kept me going. So when I got up, other than like we left that place at 5 yesterday, 5:30, and Aldo, myself, and Rick had to jump in the car and drive to New Brunswick for the Stress Factory. Then get home. So I got in the house here. It had to be all better at 1:32, whatever. It was cool, and knocked out. But when I get up, especially this time, because of that energy carrying over, that good energy, not only way I know is a Monday because keeping track of the day, but it didn't feel sluggish. And this is what I want to pass on to people's, so that people we need to start practicing our own regimen on a weekly. All right. What I'm saying is, let's get out of that loop that they got us stuck in, the matrix loop, where Monday's the drag. This is the good day. This is the best. Every day is what you make it.
Facts.
Every day is what you make. I've had some of my best days on a fucking Monday.
Yeah, that's true. That's real talk.
My whole livelihood has to do with the phone ringing. You know what I'm saying? I make my calls and do other business, but my livelihood personally thrives off of the phone ringing. I've had some of my best days on a Monday where I'm sitting at this desk and can't get up and miss lunch or miss breath, and just, because you're on a run-on sentence and got to get everything done and fax this over there and email this and all that on a Monday. So
I agree.
I think that's mind over matter. And we all can change our shit up because everybody else, the rest of the world customizes their shit to what fits them. Am I right?
Yes.
When a motherfucker open a restaurant, they be like, okay, we're going to open at 11 because ain't nobody out. Fuck that. I'm not getting up. We're going to open at 11, close this bitch at 8 because my show come on at 9, so I'm going to clean up. Whatever they reason is. That's how they put that shit in place. And why are individuals not doing that? I find a lot of people don't do that.
It's funny that you say that, because to your point, and like you say, you got to give a big shout out to the weekend, like you said, that you just came from. You just talk about energy and just, like you said, being in specific spaces that allow you to then feed off of. So to your point, last Thursday, I got a chance to go up to Salsa con Fuego, they R&B Thursday. Now, I haven't been there in some time, but that's usually because by the time the act gets on, it's so late and ain't nobody got time for that. At least of which is me, because I got to troop all the way back to Brooklyn and usually get up for work on Friday. So it just so happened that Jeff Red decided to do a birthday party in New York, which he hadn't done in some time. And he picked Salsa con Fuego as, part of the arrangement. So I shoot up there. And the funny thing is, I got home Thursday and I was like, I'm sitting in the house, whatever. But I thought about it. I said, you know what? Jeff don't ask everybody to come out often. So let me go on out, show my brother some love, shoot up there. Shoot up to Salsa. T, I don't know if you have or have not been there on the Thursday in some time, but I got to tell you, it is one of the most eclectic crowds you ever want to see in your life.
Really?
So what made it fun and interesting, to your point about taking moments and that's something else that we have to be mindful of. Please, y'all, be in the moment, because there is something magical about being in the moment. So when I get there, I'm thinking, because the weather was it was cold that day, it might not be so crowded, so forth and so on. But again, like I said, I ain't been there in a while, so I didn't even know what to really expect. I turn the corner, come down the hill. It's cars everywhere. It's damn near like a night that you and Rob and It's gonna be R&B, like one of them nights. I'm like, what is going on here? Make my way down the hill, bump into a few heads. Amir, what up, baby? What you doing? Came out for Jeff, whatever. All right, cool. I'm looking through the window. It's packed. I'm like, wow, okay. Now here's where it gets fun. So you get inside, you know how it goes. If you haven't been in some place in a while, you got the dudes who are in there every week, so they get to go in with their coats on and all the various things that the rest of us don't get to do. I had a light jacket, so I didn't really care. So I could check my jacket, no big deal. But I'm on the line. And this is where it got fun for me. I was right behind Ursula and Bertha. Now, I'm using those two names in particular because they weren't the Shaquanas or the Kamishas that we used to see at this location. this is not necessarily a crowd where you got the tough button-down wool coat. You remember the
Right.
old school button-down wool coat? They had those on. I was like, I'm not sure if this is your crowd. I'm not mad at you because you can do anything you want to do, but I'm not sure. We got nothing but fur jackets, down coats, fox this, all that kind of stuff, and everything from boots to heels to stretch. I'm looking at outfits like, what is going on in here? But it's all over the place in here. So I go inside. I make my way to the back tee, where that back bar is in salsa. And I said, let me just take this in. I seen mothers and daughters in there dropping it like it's hot.
Mothers and
Like,
daughters.
mothers and daughters. I'm looking like, isn't that Miss Erletha who does Bible study up at the church? She in here dropping it like it's hot today.
Not Erletha.
y'all gonna act like y'all don't see this. Everybody gonna act like y'all don't see this. When I tell you, all I could do was smile and just have a good time. So I smiled. I had an absolutely fabulous time just watching all this stuff. But here's where it got really fun. So I'm in there, and I saw a young lady look at me as I cut through the crowd. But, I'm thinking to myself, I'm from the Bronx. She could have been from camp days, school, whatever. This is home. And I don't, as we get older, people change. So I don't know where I know her from. But she comes up. She goes, "Are you A-Rock Sealy?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I watch all the shows you do with Talent, Lord Finesse," and she just rattled off all our shows. She was like, "When we was white," when she was rattling off everything. So I was like, "Oh, well, it's nice to meet you, so forth and so on." She said, "No, it's nice to meet you." She was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're in here." So I said, "Well, look, dear, I'm from the Bronx. I mean, this is home for me. So, I'm going to come out and support." I said, "And it's Jeff's birthday. So I most certainly had to come out and show love and support to him." So I'm in there, and I really didn't plan on drinking anything, and it's not because I didn't want to. That wasn't on my agenda. I really came to see him, rock out with him, make my beeline back to Brooklyn. So she hit me with, "You mind if I buy you a drink?" So I said, "Well, look, love, I really wasn't drinking tonight. I was planning to just take it easy or whatever." She said, "Come on, let me buy you a drink. I told you I'm a fan. I just want to buy you a drink." So I said, "Okay." She said, "What we doing, dark liquor or light liquor?" That's when I knew it took a turn for the worse. Dark or light? Wait a minute. She was like, "We hennying up or we doing light stuff?" I said, "Oh, shoot, wait a minute. This just got real." So I said, "Well, look, I don't want to do dark liquor because that never really ends well for me. So we're going to stick with the light liquor." So she was like, "Casamigos or Tito's?" I said, "You must really know tea because
Right.
Casamigos
You
is his
yelling out
thing.
that shit.
I'm a Tito's guy personally." She was like I said, "I got you." But here's where it got funny. She said, "I got my stimmy money, so don't worry about it." T, I lost it, son. Your boy almost fell on the floor. I was laughing so hard in my head. I said, "She just gonna blurt out, I got the stimmy money." So I'm okay.
But hold
You
up,
good to
though.
go.
It's funny you say that because on the trip, I ran into a few people who was like, because they put in the itinerary. See, this is what I didn't know. I told them if I could, and if I was, going to be around home or whatever, when I packed, it was like, "Oh, you should do your bump and grind thing like you used to." I was like, well, if I'm home, I can grab equipment and I'll do it, right? So I said, yeah, I'll do it. I didn't know these motherfuckers putting it in the itinerary. So like until a lady came up to me, her girlfriends was like, "Yo, we miss you, man, on the thing every night, the weekends, bum grass." I still get on when I can. So yeah, we know. We find you on Twitch now. I was like, yeah. She was like, "Yeah, man, because we can't wait, for tonight. You're gonna put it down, man." I've been waiting to hear that for a minute. And I'm like, how does this bitch know I'm about to hook up and put it down? Then another person and another person. I said, you know what? I went to my email way back to the itinerary, opened that shit up, and I was like, these niggas got no wonder. These niggas is looking for me. Now, what if I got drunk and said, well, not tonight? I'm in the fucking, I got a job to do. So hold on. Before you go further, because our guest is in, I want to bring him in. Now, listen.
Okay.
I'm talking, so Sean's one of my comedians on the trip. He comes last minute. He just want to rock out and help out. Sean Harvey has the morning show, ladies and gentlemen. 108 Soul. You can catch him, the Sean Harvey morning show. But Sean says to me, we just chatting up today, recapping shit, and he goes, "Yo, T, let me tell you something." He said, "That nigga Amir, That's all shit, right? When people start off like that, oh shit, what Amir do? You don't know if you're about to back off your friendship, like, oh shit. So he goes, nah, T, I had him come on the morning show one morning, bro. He said, that motherfucker started talking, dropped so many jewels. He said his phone lines lit. I'm going to let him tell the story. Bring in our guest from the Sean Harvey Morning Show.
Yes, yes.
Salute, what up, Sean?
What's up, fellas? First of all, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
100%. You sound wonderful. Your lighting is good.
Niggas, feels good, man. I love America, bro.
So hold up. Before we talk about the weekend, tell me about, you had him as a guest on the Sean Harvey Morning Show. What happened?
All right, so that particular morning last week, shout out, man, to everyone that's listened to the show, by the way. That particular morning last week, we was chopping it up about the vaccine. So, that's a controversial topic, and we're going with the pros and cons with it. Amir Sealy calls in, and the first thing he says out of his mouth when he's talking, he said, the first problem is there's a lot of critical thinkings out there. A lot of critical thinking. And I was like, all my life, I haven't had critical thinking. Like, I've been asleep this whole time. What's up with my critical thinking skills?
Right.
That was the first thing.
Right.
And then he dropped his jewels and his knowledge and his opinions and his facts about how he felt about the vaccine. And I'm one of those pro-vax guys, and he's a non-vax guy. But he was dropping so many jewels for 20 minutes after he finished talking. I was like, you know what? Fuck that vaccine. For 20 minutes, I was a non-vax because of the information that he shared.
But you already vaxxed, though.
And, yeah, I know. That's how powerful Amir Sealy can articulate his points. I became a non-vax for 15 minutes. And then I said, hell no, I'm going back to vaccine. But for 15 minutes, I was rocking with this dude.
Oh shit, that's hilarious.
I came home, bust down the door, looked at my wife, and I said, we are not doing enough critical thinking. She said, what's wrong with you? I said, we have to do more critical thinking. She said, where did you get this from? I said, Amir Sealy.
Oh man, hilarious. And
then after he shared his points, my phone lines went crazy. Everybody called in basically agreeing with him, or if they wasn't agreeing with him, they loved the way he articulated his viewpoints, and it just brought up a whole nother different conversation. And I want to thank this brother for calling in, sharing his knowledge, and rocking the whole room. It was a conversation who started that blew my mind.
Right.
Yo, that's God bless you, Amir, bro.
So hold up. Now, Amir, this dude, this the same dude with the energy to come up to, he was like, when two dudes went down in football that launched somebody else's career. Remember when Theismann got broke up, that's how Doug Williams won the Super Bowl.
Right.
And then when Drew Bledsoe went down, that's what Tom Brady came out.
Right. Yep. Right.
So Sean reminded me of one of those backup quarterbacks. The nigga texted me on Saturday. Now the signal's fucked up there, so you can't get your calls in and out, whatever. So when you go outside by the door for whatever reason, you'll get a bunch of things flood through. So now some text flood through. Sean's in there like, yeah, you need me up there. Just say the word. So when I see the second one, I'm like, dog, just come, dude. So he comes up there, and Sean blazes the shit. And you know, the dope energies, the way I raise these cats in the School of Talent with comedy is, one of the biggest things that, God bless Monteria Ivy, he passed on to me, the original host of the Uptown Comedy Club TV show and the original club on 125th.
Right.
Monteria Ivy put the one of the best things that he showed me, I would say it's 3 things I've never stopped using from day one. But the most important one is, he was like, T, how you going to be better than most comedians is you got to always be ready. And I'm like, yeah, but I am ready. He said, no, you're not ready. He said, you guys come in the club, the first thing you'll do is say, hey, what's the order? When do I go up? Blah, blah, blah. He said, so that means you want to know how much time you got to fuck around before you gotta lock in and go up. He said, but if I don't tell you guys when you're going up, you're all going to be on alert because you could be next. Mm-hmm. And not knowing keeps you on alert, which is so fucking true. So when I was bestowed to host the Boston Comedy Club, I applied that to my running the show. I also applied, he had this way, I stole if you go around the country now, everybody does it now, but I stole the whole pre-show in front of the show. Right. 1 or 2 new jacks, a separate host sometime, then you get to the main event guys. So, those 2 things I applied when I took to Boston. But the thing that stays with me and it's so true because I see them do it to me all the time because I'm always hosting some shit. Yo, what's the order? When do I go up? I'm going, just be ready. As soon as you game here, you got to know that you're at work.
Yeah.
As soon as you come here, like with me, I do it even before that. Like when I get out the house into whatever car door that's taking me there, I'm clocked in. Yeah. I'm no longer the nigga on the couch with the dogs. Now I'm the nigga on the flyer.
Right.
There I go. They were expecting me, So I tried to pass that on. And you see, he didn't know. Now Sean's a headliner. You know what I mean? And when I threw this dude up first, I know all of them was trying to do the math. They couldn't do the math. Like, what? 3 + 2 is 5? It's still 5? They're trying to figure that shit out. But it did exactly what it played out in my head as doing. His energy for that first comic. Because everybody coming in this room is coming with that about to go home, sluggish kind of energy. A couple of them get some last drinks or whatever. So It's not that Friday night, Saturday night energy. It's daytime. So you got to up the ante. And when I threw him up there, Amir, in that first spot, and he lit that shit and set the tone to the next level, we never looked back. Matter of fact, speaking of not looking back, we couldn't do the show without a young lady who's funny out of the Baltimore, Maryland. Bring her here. Bring Ray Diva on the screen. We got Ray Diva here as well.
Y'all see, I got my name spelled Hey Diva. That's the bullshit.
Wait.
Hey guys.
Yo, Ray.
Yo, he misspelled your name?
Tay, it says T-A-Y. Like, it's horrible.
Well, just be Tay for a little while.
I'll be Tay Diva.
Yo, T. Yeah. I call it the Mariano Rivera syndrome.
Oh my gosh.
Mariano's always
listening to you guys and Talent. You were so right. When Sean went up first, I went to scrambling. I'm like, oh, who next? And we got to follow that. And oh shit, like what the fuck? Boy, that's some pressure.
Hey, first of all, sis, I love you to death. But like I said, and you killed that room. But like I said, it's like Mariano Rivera in the bullpen. You know he's going in, but you don't know when. And then when they call on him, he runs right out there and he's ready. And I thank you for that, Talent, man, for all that love. Because when you called my name first, you're right. I didn't even know. I heard an echo through the room. It's like, Sean. I was like, me? Me? Okay, let's go. And you're right. It gives a certain height of awareness. And I appreciate you for that.
Right. And then you got to understand. And then what I did on top of that was, because everything, I don't know about you guys, but the show plays out already up here. Like I've watched the show without it happening, because when I know the parties involved, I could watch the show up here, and then I just got to apply it like a script to these guys so they could see what I just saw. So I knew energy-wise, I had him in Wu. And I'm like, either one I could close with. I said, but you know what? Wu works better under built pressure. Sean can do it all. He's a host, blah, blah, blah. But more importantly, he got that energy. And these motherfuckers don't even drink. He coming in there sober. He's better than all of us at the time. Right? Yeah, this motherfucker coming in straight sober. So then in the middle, what people didn't know, because I never let people know, even the audiences don't know, they just know they're in for a good ride, is they thought it was about to be all testosterone up that motherfucker. Yeah. And when I got to Ray Diva and brought her up there, and she started talking her shit, you felt the bondness tightening up so much. It got so tight, man. You know, they just was like on some empowerment estrogen shit that could have went on another 20 minutes by itself. Yeah. You know what I mean? The love was in the bit, and it just kept building and building and building. Of course, we give it to Wu. The last baton goes to Wu, and he just smashed the shit down, and everybody leaves there super duper fucking happy. You know what I mean? Yes. But Ray Diva, how did it feel for you up there?
I'm saying a prayer every time I hit the stage, because you know, Talent, being the guy that you are, like, we get no do-overs. This is the only business, like, when somebody sees you for the first time and you're terrible, forever you're terrible almost. Like, you gotta make them laugh 1 billion times and be like, oh, she all right. But so when we get no, you know, when we get no do-overs, it's like, oh, man, you know, God, please be with me up here. But because I like bonding with the women, like, I talk shit to women all the time. I got a lot of girlfriends. I love the energy that the ladies gave me at that show and at most shows.
Yeah, you're one of those female comedians. That's what stands out to me. You know, I'm one of those people, a firm believer, funny's funny, right? And what stands out to me is when the comic, especially, you know, predominant of our audience are going to be women, because women support entertainment 80% more than men all day. Sure do. So when I feel that connection in a room, that's special. It's one thing to get up there and just talk shit. It's another thing to feel that click, right? When that click, and then, like, let's say, I would say maybe 4 or 5 minutes, I felt the click. You went up there, you started off good, but then there was a click. I was like, oh, she got it here. And then that was a whole different conversation with you guys. And I just wanted to, you know, give you flowers now, tell you great job. And what makes it even more exciting is the young lady, like this man right here, just drove on the strength and the love of doing what they love to do. Amir, not book, no financial gain. You know, I pay him afterwards anyway, because remember, Barry Ribbs said, I know Talent gonna do the right thing. So I've been trying to live up to that shit since Barry Ribbs threatened me. I don't want no trouble, so make sure. But I really think.
Let me say something real quick. First of all, Ray, sis, you know I love you. You ripped that room last night. It was a pleasure. I was hanging on to every word you were saying, and it was just hilarious. And the girl started waving back at you, clapping and identifying. Aww. And my whole thing is this. Let me ask you all a question. Do you guys believe in having a lineup of comedians and having only one female on the show, one woman comedian, or multiple women comedians? Because last night that lineup was perfect, with Ray giving her points of view to the ladies. Mm-hmm. So my question is, do you put more than one female on a show like this, woman, or do you put multiple females? Well, I prefer to just have one female. You can do both ways.
There's no double standard. You can do both ways. It's not about if it's one or two females or all female. It's about subject matter. Now take away gender and look at the lineup we just did, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody had their own individual style. So it wasn't like, because we know in comedy, we know as a lot of people, this guy sounds like this guy. This guy sounds like this guy. This guy. Yeah. So that lineup, none of that was like that. Even though we had Johnny Expo, white dude, Aldo, white dude, 2 different white dudes. Yeah. One motherfuckers fucking midgets and selling shoes. Totally. One motherfucker sound more threatening. Like they're 2 different lifestyles. So you, Sean, you are your own entity. We were talking about that in the Stress Factory last night, how you really are is really a character to the rest of us.
Right.
Like you carry an energy that you said somewhere along down the line, you're not changing for shit, and that's your character. But Wu is far from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Ray's far from everybody else. So if I take 3 women, but I might have like Indimon, Michelle.
Yeah.
She's totally different than Ray Diva. And then Ray Diva's totally different than Melanie Camacho.
Right.
And then Melanie's different than Coco Brown. And then Coco's different from Kim Whitley. So I think that's a mental double standard thing that people get caught up in. Don't get me wrong. I get by her being the only woman, what it does create is a mystique of novelty. It's like 3 black dudes and that 1 white guy. He's a novelty in that moment.
Mm-hmm. So Ray, how do you feel about that?
I don't mind being on shows with other women as long as they the women that don't steal my shit. Well, I pride myself. No, and listen, I'm not egotistical. I don't proclaim to be goddamn Dave Chappelle or this genius of writer. But what I do know is I'm not looking to snatch another female's taglines. Like, I have so many, by me being in Baltimore, I have a lot of Baltimore, by me being doing comedy longer than most of the Baltimore comedians outside of, you have Monique, you have Coco Brown, she's from Baltimore, you have those. So I get a lot of females that remix my shit. So I don't really try and be on it. Like, I have taglines, like, I have males that take my shit. Like, I have a joke about having 1 key. You know how many times people come and be like, oh, you know, so-and-so was saying your 1 key. I used to do a joke about a freezer full of meat. Oh, you know, so-and-so doing a freezer full of meat. But if they're not remixing me, I love it. I bring the women in. I have an all-female group called She More Funny. I love working with the female comics. I love it.
Okay. All right, so this is what we're gonna play a quick game. Amir, Sean, and myself. Each one of us is gonna say a female comic's name. And then in 1 or 2 few words, I want you to say what comes to mind, just naturally. Like if I say to you, Adele Givens.
Hustler. Oh, you're not talking to me.
Yeah, you got to answer, right?
Oh, I think Adele Givens, 1, is funny, and I think Adele Givens is a hustler.
Amir?
Some more.
I think some more is very talented, creative, and smart in the sense that some more has been able to rebrand and keep herself a brand for over 20 years. And that takes a lot of hard work.
Sure.
Adele Givens, constant professional, hard worker, very intelligent, very funny, a beautiful woman, a beautiful grown woman, sex appeal, hilarious.
Okay.
Some more, I agree with Ray, rebranding herself. To me, some more is the comedian's comedian.
Mm.
She has her punchlines and her tags perfect. Her subject matters are unbelievable. She also simplifies the joke. For me, her stage presence is amazing. She can do time, and her stage performance to me is a 10.
Okay, I respect that, and I love y'all, man, and I'm pushing out some positive energies to both your way. Everybody tune in to the Sean Harvey Morning Show, 108 Soul every morning, holding it down over there. I'm proud of you, boy. And the queen
love you,
right
bro.
here, Ray Diva, holding it down. Came up to Rochester, ripped shit up.
Oh,
Harrisburg,
thank you.
ripped
It's over.
Catskill, ripped shit up.
Over.
I love y'all.
Over.
It's over.
I'll see y'all soon. We talk.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, darling. Appreciate you. Oh, man. So you see what kind of week we had.
Yes. I mean, I like, and again, the funny thing is even with Sean. So again, I had been tuning into his show and I've been tuning into Mike Sean's show as well. So much so that they got me late every morning. I ain't even gonna lie. I'd be late to work every day just because I'm messing around with their 2 shows. But I love the subject matter and I like what they do in the morning. So I'm really, like I do everything else, in the chat, just, trying to bring my usual energy to the chat, see what people are talking about, what they feeling, not feeling, reiterating certain things that are said. And like you said, he, you know, pulled me in the other morning. It was funny because actually Fig was on before I was.
Okay.
And, you know, we all family. So Fig was on, and Fig was, you know, giving his spiel about, you know, the doctors and everything about vaccinations and so forth and so on. And again, I'm not against anybody who has gotten vaccinated or feels that they need to get vaccinated. I think that that's fine. I think that that is actually something that people should do. I just don't like the fact that they have decided to obviously separate us and put us in these weird spaces where we're going against each other. My train of thought is always this: mathematics, if it doesn't teach you anything other than this, there are multiple ways to get to the same answer. So I don't know why people get so stuck on their way of getting to the answer. That's your way, and that's fine. But there are multiple ways to get to the same answer. As we're finding out now, as parents of, you know, parents and or even grandparents, have you seen the mathematics and the way they do math now as of late, T? They got all this new stuff that they do, crossing stuff. We like, I wouldn't have understood any of it. Now, the funny thing about some of it is it really is a lot simpler. But it's weird because we knew only the way that we learned how to do math during our tenure in school. So now you're sitting here like, well, why didn't they tell us this? And I could have been doing some things so much differently. Y'all had me doing all this foolishness and got me looking crazy. And I could have just been doing this. But I just used that as a way for me to look at life and say the same thing applies to life. While I might use, you know, crossing things out and adding the one, some of this new math allows them to round it off and do whatever. We still gonna get the same answer. So I just hope that people start to really understand that that is a part of being motivated too. Never think that just because you've gotten the answer through a specific way that has become accustomed to you, that there are not other ways to obviously get the same answer. That's a beautiful thing to keep in your psyche and in your toolbox as you go through life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good look, man. And I think that you hear this thing, and I'm on comedy. One more thing, then we'll move on. But you hear this thing about comedy. What it gets under my skin because it's like it's always trying to associate depression or suicide. I'm sure you heard this before. Like comedians, all this dark shit behind them. Yeah, they up there making you laugh, but they're suicidal and they're very depressed and stressed. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's not an isolated thing. Comedians are human beings. And you just like in any other form of fashion of being human, you have all types and walks of life. You got fat people, you got skinny people, you got tall people, you got short people, you got blind people, you got deaf people, you got loud people, you got shy, quiet people, it's just everything. You know, all that exists at the same time. And it's the same thing in comedy. I don't want people to feed, because a lot of people over the years feed into that. All it takes is like one comic to die. And see, it's true, Robin Williams. That's not how it works. We're just humans. And each of us move different. Now, the times have a lot to do with that, because when I started in the 90s, I remember comics, their mindset was very loosey-goosey, like borderline, for lack of a better word, like goofy. You know what I mean? Like it was always fun, you know, and da-da-da-da. And like you were sacrificing a bunch of shit to be in the light, to be at the right place at the right time. And you might have missed a basketball practice of your daughter or your son. You might have missed you know what I'm saying, a assembly or a play, or because you were trying to do these things. But it's no one stigma attached to it. We're just humans. And just the same way you got everything out there in people, you got everything in comics. You got the comedians who rape people. These motherfuckers are perverts and
Serious.
you know, take advantage and shit like that and put themselves in those positions, because you got regular ones on the street. Then you got the ones that's going to take care of the girl, make sure she get out of there safe and the vultures don't get her and all that. You got those guys in the club out in the street as well. So it's not any one stigma thing that just applies to this art form and what we do here. Comedy is one of those things that, like you just said, it's not one way to get to the answer, right? You just said that. Nothing could be truer in comedy. That's why we have a variety, right? We can look at 10 comics And like I just said, with them on the line, 10 different styles, forms, and fashions. You know what I mean? Like when I think of Sinbad, I never think of Dave Chappelle. And when I think of Carol Burnett, I never think of Wanda Sykes Hall. You know what I mean? Like these are all different entities to me, and I like them all for different reasons of what they bring to the table. Guess what? They end up with the same result. They're funny.
Correct.
It's just he did it his way, she did it her way, and that's how that goes. That's how you gotta look at that.
And you know, again, if y'all don't tune into Box Seats, bless your hearts, but y'all gotta check Box Seats. T, I'm still laughing at the brand took a few hits in the last 2 years. Remember the guy that got on Rodney's guy, Joel, what was his name? Joel something, the comedian that came on today, when y'all were doing Box Seats. And
yeah.
it was like, yeah, the brand took a few hits in the last few years.
Yeah, that guy was so funny.
I couldn't stop laughing off of that for the rest of the afternoon. I was like, yo, that might be one of the greatest lines I've heard in God knows how long.
That was so funny. Like to hear from a white dude's mouth is one thing when we saying it, it's observational. But when you hear the guy saying it, he's like the representative. So when he said, man, at this point, any good publicity, we can take anything we want. You know, the brand has taken a substantial hit. The brand. That's funny as hell. The brand of being Caucasian.
I mean, that was hilarious. But to that's what I mean. We've got to find ways to, like I said, find the bright spots and everything, guys. I know that sometimes things seem so dark, so over the top, so scary, so sad, and all these, the various things. But I think if you take a moment and understand a couple of things, first of all, do the best that you can to get through the emotional part of the situation, because that is paramount to what you're going through actually in the moment. So, white power. So do the best you can to, get get through the emotions of the situation. And then there's something that, is a video. I'm not sure. Again, I brought this up before. How many of you have seen this? But it's Tom Hanks, and he's sitting around with other fellow actors. And he makes a valid point where he just says, this too shall pass. And look, if you really were to sit down and think about some of the things that you might have cried over, thought that the world had come to an end over, and, all these, again, different things, you start laughing to yourself because you'd be like, back then, you couldn't tell me that, it wasn't the end all, the be all, and all that stuff. Now, you can smile about it. You can laugh about it. You can take it with a grain of salt. You can really allow yourself to understand that, yes, in the moment, it probably seems like the worst thing that could possibly happen, but time always gives you an opportunity to, if you give yourself the opportunity to, so that's a big part of it, heal up and then look back at it and go, that was just a moment.
And then you got a precious time you got to look out for.
You got to look out for. Before he came on, and for those of you who may or may not have done that this weekend, Janet Jackson had her 2-day, 4-hour, 2-hour in each day part series of her life. And if you haven't watched it, I really do suggest people go out and watch it. Now, I know some people will still say that they don't believe half the stuff, whatever, and that's fine. But the one thing that I've come to appreciate in the last few years is a lot of our stars and a lot of the entertainers that we know and love telling their stories from their perspective.
And you took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm so sick and tired of somebody else telling somebody's story. And not that it's a good thing or a bad thing, but the problem that I have with it is that's your version of the story.
Right.
The person themselves who lived it, who actually went through it, good, bad, and indifferent, it's their story to tell. And yes, sometimes things happen. We lose people before they can tell it for themselves and, things like that or whatever. Or, there's the part of the story that you walked in on, which is cool too. But we can't always say that just because you're giving your part of the story, that is the entire story. It's just your part of the story.
No, you're right. It's the ball's in their court. It's theirs to really tell. And she says that in the beginning. She answers right away. They like, well, why are you doing this documentary? Because basically she had camera crews following for years. So they got all this footage that they never really used for nothing. And she said, well, I just feel like it's time, people need to hear me tell the story. She said, because this one dropped a unofficial biography. This one you know, didn't have the rights to do that, whatever. But these are stories being out, and just like you'll see when you're watching the doc in there, how a rumor can take its own life. You know, the rumor of she had the baby in the 80s, and it took its own life, and it drove them fucking crazy. You know, even, you know, but what she had to go through, the timing of what she was doing and her deals and what was happening with Mike, because, you know, she was always Mike's little sister. Like, you know, she could, half the battle is just getting from under that wing, if you will,
shadow.
and becoming your own. You know, but we all know Mike is in such a big stratosphere of his own. It's not easy to do. But yeah, that's what she did. I was going to say the same thing, but it's worth the watch. You gotta go through it. Like, bro, one of my funnest fucking times every year, never fail. Like, first of all, shout out to Sharonda. Thank you because this is what I'm doing this week, getting into my book, Blood on the Garden Floor. There's blood in the garden. Is crazy. This is about the 90s Knicks and how we was enforcing the league, and we changed everything. So stuff like that, because I lived it, is very intriguing to me. So now imagine every year I work with John Starks 2 times out the year. I'm around all these guys, everybody from Charles Oakley to, you talk about Giants, Jets, Yankees, Mets, Knicks, Nets, like everybody. So these things you live, you'll be sitting next to somebody who was part of that shit. And somehow that shit come, you know, all the big shit keeps coming up.
Coming up.
And then you start getting these little jewels that they telling you that you never fucking knew. It's just like when I tell you I met the guy in Florida down in Tampa, and come to find out he the guy who caught Saddam, right?
Yeah.
Like, the first thing he said before we went in the office and put on the big screen, he said, bro, I'm about to show y'all shit that they didn't show y'all in the news or TV. And when he's telling his story and showing you that shit, flabbergasted. You straight flabbergasted. So that's what this is. This is her doing her own thing justice while she still have, you know, life and breath in her that God has given her to breathe every day. And now she's alive to see her product come out, tell her truth or their lack thereof, whatever she wants to put out from her angle and everything. And I respect that. And it's good.
It's good. You know, what I love, to your point, is the other candid sides of Mike that we didn't see. I don't know if you got to the scream part yet, but if you got to the scream part, I watched that and I had a whole different idea now about the song and everything that went on with it. Because I was like, you know, everybody's, you know, saying whatever. Mike looked calm as a fan. He was like, yo, you know, this is my, you know, this is what I want to talk about. Sis, write yours. And he was calm. It wasn't look, sis, you know, I'm pressed and, you know, the world is on my shoulders and all this stuff. And I'm looking at all of this stuff and I'm saying to myself, you know, again, I know that as a collective, the world sees things in its own way, which is fine. But again, when you see the people who actually lived it tell their story, something that I thought about as I've been watching it is this. Yes, Mike was his own stratosphere, and Janet probably did have a tough time trying to get out from under that. But now when I look back on it, he was the king of pop, and she actually was the queen of pop. I know people may or may not see it that way, but look at how much she had to do in order to, and I don't think it was a battle. Like, I know that there's, you know, parts of it where it says it was a battle. I don't think it was a battle. I think what was happening is she was just doing so well with what she was doing and how she was going about it. And you fast forward to where we are now. And this is why it's always important to keep your integrity. It's always important to do what you think makes sense to you and to bring it to the world. No Beyonce, no Rihanna, no Janelle Monáe, no Missy Elliott, no Sierra, no most of these women that we know now who are the, you know, have carried the torch and continue to carry the torch. Aaliyah, the list goes on and on and on. Maya, all of them, if they were not Janet Jackson. You could say what you want, but you could see her DNA is in each and every one of those women based off of what she was able to accomplish in that time frame. And I was like really blown away by that. Like, wow.
I'm gonna tell you what stood out to me. It was a very interesting part because it's sort of like the OJ trial where the country split, right? You get half the people happy he got off, the other half he's not happy. So when they talk about Mike going through the shit and the settlement, you know, with the accusations and all that, when I think back to how I felt back then, I kind of understood it, but for different reasons. Now, as I'm older looking at it, it's like a fresh pair of eyes where, because we talk about mental illness, right? And she says in there, it's a part where they ask her about it, and she goes, well, I've always just wished my brother would have just, you know, fought that shit because he didn't do it. You know what I mean? And he don't have that in him. I just wish he would have fought, but he just wanted it to go away. So he threw money at it. I just want to end this shit because it's too much. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And now that I look at it from a mental illness standpoint, people break. There's things that break people.
Yes.
And I think if you're really blessed and lucky, you know what that is. So if you know what that is, it's sort of like an electric fence. Once you know it's an electric fence, you're not touching that shit because you're going to get shocked. So if you're blessed enough to know what breaks you, what that thing would be the end result to break you, you nip it. You don't cross that. Maybe a trial, we would have watched Michael Jackson break.
Yeah.
As a selfish person, oh, fuck that. Fight that shit, fuck that, da, 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 da. And even when he did it, I respected and said, you know what, he just wanted to go away, but not thinking deeply like something like mental health. I was just thinking like, oh, just, you know, get out the news and on to the next thing.
Your life.
But if you are this person who we think you to be, like you didn't do it, that does have to tear you apart the longer it hangs around like that. And it's one thing to hang around, there's another thing to hang around loudly. So in other words, now that it's been splattered out there for decades, it's always in the back of everybody's mind. It passes their mind, right? But it's a whisper in your mind, as opposed to if it's still in the news every day in the trial. You see how we watching trials now and all that stuff like that. It's loudly now. And maybe that's the breaking point. Just food for thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'll end it, you know, on this as well, or at least I'll say this. The other thing that I took away from watching, you know, her story is, you know, from time to time, we have these wonderful debates about our artists of today. And I respect and I have a tremendous amount of love for each of our artists for today, you know, of today. Here's what I need y'all to understand. Michael and Janet was doing that without social media. So could you imagine what the two of them would have been like with social media? Could you imagine the numbers that Mike would have if he had come up in the social media era, and Janet? So when the Drakes of the world and anybody else who tries to actually go for their throne, I want y'all to pump your brakes for a minute, because when you watch that footage, look at those stadiums. It's not like doing Madison Square Garden. The stadiums that Janet and Mike did, they did stadiums where you got hundreds of thousands of people in there.
Every show was Woodstock.
Okay. And like I said, this was without social media. So this means that people went out, physically bought the album. Y'all saw them looking like them, the girls with the hats that matched. And I was just like, come on, y'all. These two are two of the best to ever do it. You can love them or hate them for, you know, your other reasons. I got that. But you can't negate that what they've contributed to the fabric of music is beyond reproach. Like beyond reproach. I was like, even when they said they shifted into her doing the Rhythm Nation joint, because they was like, that was a whole different project. And they was like, nah, we're not getting from you what we expected, and this and that and the third. And she came back out with that Rhythm Nation and had us. And here's the thing, I don't know about you, T, but I swear to God, as they went through the songs, I really also took that into account. I was like, we keep talking about Janet's not a great singer, and she's not by no stretch of the imaginations to some of the other great singers in the various eras. But her body of work is bananas. Like literally, but I was like, Janet got some stuff in that catalog, y'all. Stop playing. Yeah. She got some stuff in that catalog. Like,
and you gotta realize, man, this is a young lady at the time who just tapped into her direction. And let's say that. Let's look at artists. How many you think have been making records and albums in the direction that they wanted to go in, and opposed to a producer or a record label? She put her stamp on that shit. And you can see her thing changed with where her life was going. So control was exactly what it was about. Getting the fuck from under the grasp of my father and them, and taking my own shit, taking control of my business, boom, boom. And even when she came with motherfucking by Rhythm Nation, there was some militant to that. There was some, you know what I mean? Some the woman, there was more women control. Yeah. Like and we here recognize this shit. You know what I mean? And so on. And then it was the shit got super sexy.
Yeah. What? Yeah. And this is something else, because you know, sometimes Talent and I get into these discussions and disagreements with our female counterparts. If you look at the various photos that they have throughout the that's what you do. If you're gonna give us looks, make sure that they're on point and they're absolutely, I can't say flawless, but so incredible that you have to go, okay. Some of y'all, like I said, you got Yaki 77. It's not matching. You got the baby hair. First of all, I don't even know how or why some of y'all are still trying to have baby hair and you're above 50. No disrespect.
Did you see the people getting the tattoo on the baby hair?
Come on, bro. Guys. Come on.
I gotta end. We gotta end on that.
We gotta get out of here. We're just gonna say this again. It's Monday. We love you. Thank you for tuning in as always. Y'all know what I always end mine with. It's nice to be important, but it's much more important to be nice. It's getting ready to be February 1st. I'm just going to say this, a big shout out to my brother in heaven. Tomorrow would have been his birthday, his 52nd. We'll do some celebrating on that. I'm a week away, the 9th. Y'all mark that on your calendars. That's my day. And I'm just thankful and mindful. And I really, really do appreciate each and every one of you for tuning into the various shows that I'm become part of, and for supporting me and supporting what Talent has allowed me to do alongside him. So I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And thank you.
Thank you. And peace, everybody. Thank y'all for hanging with us. We'll see you next Monday, same time. Or if you're here Friday, we'll see you Friday. Race Debate is back at you. All right.
Yes.